Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make a chocolate banana loaf cake. So it's a chocolate loaf cake with bananas mashed up and mixed in as the main liquid for the cake basically. It's going to be very, very tasty, and I'm going to put some chocolate chips in as well. It's a nice easy recipe and it's quite quick to make. It does take about an hour to bake, but nevertheless the amount of effort's very little. I start off by preheating my oven to 170 degrees Celsius, 150 Celsius with a fan, 340 Fahrenheit, and I have taken a 2-pound loaf pan and I put in a liner. So you can line the loaf pan with parchment paper, or you can grease the loaf pan and flour it and then knock out the excess flour. That would be fine as well. So that's what we do to start with, and I'll go on to the ingredients. And for the ingredients, I start off with 320 grams, which is just under 12 ounces of banana. The riper the better really. Mine aren't particularly ripe, but they'll be fine. And that is actually 3 bananas, so it's between 2 to 4 bananas, but it's best to go by weight because that will make the liquid for you. So I also have 100 grams, which is half a cup of dark chocolate chips. You can use milk chocolate if you want to. You could leave the chocolate out and use a few nuts again if you want to, but half a cup of the nuts, not 100 grams, because nuts don't weigh as much as chocolate basically. I have 56 grams, a quarter of a cup of unsalted butter which I have melted, 2 medium eggs which would be large in the USA, 160 grams, which is 3/4 of a cup plus about 2 teaspoons of light brown sugar, 3 grams, half a teaspoon of salt, 10 grams, 2½ teaspoons of baking powder, 30 grams, about 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and 150 grams, 1 cup based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. So that's all the ingredients, and the first thing I'm going to do is to mash my bananas. Then I'll mix the wet ingredients and then the dry ingredients and combine everything. Now you can mash the bananas however you want. I'm going to start off with a fork basically, and you can mash them to the consistency that you want. So if you want a few chunks in, you can leave a few chunks in. I'm just going to take a little black bit off that I saw there at the end of one banana. So I've mashed mine till they're quite liquefied, just a few small little pieces showing as well. And actually what I did, I will show you, you don't have to do it, but as I said, you can do this however you want. But I took my hand mixer, which I'm going to use to make the batter, and I just mixed them like that until they broke up a little bit once I'd mashed them with a fork. So I set those to one side for the time being, and then I'm going to put my cocoa powder, my baking powder and my salt into the flour. I'm just going to give those a little bit of a mix around. I will sift them later because cocoa powder clumps and you don't want it clumping in the middle of your cake. So I set that to one side and we'll go on to mix the batter, starting with the wet ingredients. So I'm going to put my eggs and my brown sugar into my bowl, And using the beaters of my hand mixer, I'm going to mix those together, and as I mix them together I'm going to put in my melted butter as well. And that's mixed together quite nicely. So I'm then going to add my dry ingredients, and as I said, I'm going to sift that onto the wet mixture. And that's good enough. So I'm going to stir that through, and as I stir that through I'm going to add my banana in as well. And with that mixed in, I'm going to take about half of my chocolate chips and stir those through. And I'm going to pour that into my prepared pan. I'll put about half of it in to start with. Like that. And then with that in, I'm going to take about half of what's remaining of my chocolate chips, and I'm just going to dot those onto the batter. And pour the remaining batter in. And that's the vast majority of the batter in. So I'm just going to spread that a little bit over the top. And I'm going to straighten my paper. Like that. And then I'm going to dot some more chocolate chips on the top. Now you don't have to do this, you can use fewer chocolate chips and just put them inside the cake if you want to. And that's good enough, I think. So I'm going to put that into the oven and I'm going to bake it for about an hour. And then I'll test it with a skewer. And if it comes out clean or cleanish, there may be a little bit of chocolate on because of the chocolate chips. But if it comes out clean and it feels springy to the touch on the top, then I'll take it out of the oven. Now, it might split on the top. Loaf cakes often do split, but that's nothing to worry about. But once it does come out clean with the skewer, I'll take it out of the oven, leave it in the tin for a few minutes, and then I'll transfer it to a wire rack to cool completely. And once it's cooled completely, I'll come back, show it to you, and we'll have a taste. I baked my chocolate banana loaf cake for 60 minutes. It rose up quite nicely. It did split along the top as I suggested that it probably would. And I tested it with a skewer, which came out nice and clean. So I took it out of the oven and left it in the tin for 10 minutes. Then I took it out of the tin and removed it from its paper as well onto a wire rack. So it's now just about cooled down, and I've cut a slice, so I'll show you what it looks like. So it's baked up quite nicely, as you can see. The chocolate chips on the top have retained their shape, and they're soft, but they will harden up as the cake gets completely cool. But it's nice and moist inside. I can feel that, and you can see little bits of chocolate chip inside as well, and just the tiniest fleck of banana. So I'll break a piece of this off and I'll have a taste of it. It does have a lovely flavour of the chocolate and the banana, and neither is too dominant. You get the chocolate at first as you're chewing it, but then the banana flavour comes through as well. So I think this would work very well just as a slice of cake in the afternoon with a cup of tea, but you could also have it as a dessert with a little bit of cream or something like that. Worked very well indeed. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there'll be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.